Health Department or DOH confirms the presence of the United Kingdom COVID-19 variant in the country. The DOH on Wednesday, January 13, announces this after swab samples from a Filipino who arrived from the United Arab Emirates on January 7 yielded positive genome sequencing results. The case involves a 29-year-old male resident of Kamuning, Quezon City, who departed for Dubai on December 27 for business purposes. He returned to the Philippines on January 7 via Emirates flight number EK332. During his trip, the case was also accompanied by his female partner, who tested negative for COVID-19 upon arrival. The female is now under strict quarantine and monitoring. The DOH says immediate contact tracing is done with coordination with the Quezon City government. Mayor Joy Belmonte calls on Quezon City residents to remain cautious and vigilant to avert the spread of the new variant. Meantime, the DOH on Thursday, January 14, says the contacts of the Filipino domestic worker in Hong Kong, who was found to have the new variant, tested positive for COVID-19. But the new UK COVID-19 variant was not detected among them. The Philippine Food and Drug Administration or FDA issues an emergency use authorization for Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine in the country. The historic approval on Thursday, January 14 is a first of its kind in the Philippines. The FDA decision means the Western vaccine can be distributed to Filipinos in a matter of weeks, with health and pandemic officials targeting an initial rollout by the end of February. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez also confirms the government signed a deal with China's Sinovac for 25 million doses of CoronaVac. An initial batch of 50,000 doses is expected to arrive in the country on February 20, to be followed by 950,000 more doses in March. As develops, FDA Director General Eric Domingo says Sinovac already filed an application for emergency use authorization of its coronavirus vaccine. Domingo says the FDA is waiting to receive the Phase 3 clinical trial results of Sinovac's vaccine, on which an analysis of its risk and benefits is mostly anchored on. Meantime, in a meeting Wednesday, January 13, President Rodrigo Duterte says the national government will let local governments choose their preferred COVID-19 vaccine for their constituents.
We are not forcing anybody to join the cause of the national government. Hindi namin pinipilit na sumali kayo sa ibibigay ng bakuna ng national government.
Several local governments, including Davao City, already signed deals with AstraZeneca ahead of national government's intervention. President Rodrigo Duterte proclaims in a speech, "Women are not cut out to be president of the country." He says this Thursday, January 14, in reference to his own daughter, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte. He says he advised Sara not to run for president in 2022.
My daughter, iniudyok Manila, sabi ko, my daughter is not running. I have told Inday not to run kasi naaawa ako sa dadaanan niya na dinaanan ko. Hindi ito pambabae. Alam mo, the emotional setup of a woman and a man is totally different. Maging gago ka dito.
But even before Duterte became chief executive, the Philippines already had two female presidents. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, who is a close Duterte ally, and Corazon Aquino, who appointed Duterte to his first major government post. Duterte's sexism has been a recurring problem during his presidency, from rape jokes to lewd behavior. In the same speech Thursday, Duterte claims he rejects any extension of his term as chief executive.
Term extension. My God. Baskin mo, ibigay mo sa akin a silver platter. Baski ibigay mo sa akin libre another 10 years. Sabihin ko sa iyo, putang ina mo, iyo na lang yan. Tapos na ako.
He also says something vague about not being around in the next few years, which includes the election year 2022, but did not elaborate.
Matanda na ako. In 3 to 5 years, wala na ako sa mundong to.
Duterte's rejection of term extension for himself comes as his allies in Congress move to amend the 1987 Constitution. Senators slammed the chair of the House Committee on Constitutional Amendments for declaring that his panel was already convened into a Constituent Assembly or CONAS. Senate President Vicente Soto III on Wednesday, January 13 says a CONAS can only be convened when both the House and the Senate sit as one body. This comes after House Panel Chair Alfredo Garbin Jr. insisted his committee has already convened into a CONAS as they resume charter change hearings. Soto questions the House committee as to why it is rushing the proceedings. The 18th Congress is still on break and will reopen session on Monday, January 18. Senate Majority Leader Miguel Zubiri also counters Garbin's logic, saying a CONAS can only be called through a resolution adopted by both houses during their respective plenary sessions. Senator Panfilo Lacson agrees. He mentions Article 17 of the Constitution that states the entire Congress, and not just one committee from either houses, is the one that can convene itself into a CONAS. Despite the criticisms, Garbin on Thursday, January 14, insists on his interpretation. He explains the Constitution does not provide for the convening of the CONAS prior to making proposals for amendments to the Constitution. Garbin is leading efforts in the House to revive Cha-Cha upon the orders of House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Velasco says only the economic provisions will be amended to open up the economy to more foreign investors. The United States House of Representatives impeaches Donald Trump again on Wednesday, January 13, formally charging him with inciting an insurrection. This vote in the House happens just a week after a violent mob of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol. 5 people died in the attack. 10 Republicans backed the Democrats' push. The final vote count is 232 to 197 in favor of charging him with impeachment. But it appears unlikely that this impeachment will lead to Trump's ouster before his term ends. Senate Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell rejects the Democrats' call for an immediate impeachment trial. He says there is no time to conclude a trial before January 20 because the Senate is scheduled to be back in regular session on January 19. Trump on Wednesday urges his followers to remain peaceful ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration.
There must be no violence, no law-breaking, and no vandalism of any kind. Violence and vandalism have absolutely no place in our country and no place in our movement.
Trump is the first U.S. president ever to be impeached twice. He was first impeached by the House in December 2019, but was acquitted by the Senate. He was charged with abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, stemming from his request that Ukraine investigate Biden and son Hunter ahead of the election.